There's been big news in IndyCar racing this week. How would you like to learn to drive a stock car? And the next time you go to Watkins, Glen, you'll need to stop by here. That's all next on Race Day. And good morning, everybody. I'm Pat Patterson. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. We hope you're having a good, safe holiday. First up this morning, Kenny Bernstein and Roberto Guerrero have joined forces for 1993. Of course, Guerrero, you remember, was the man probably most noted last year in the Indy 500 for crashing on the very first lap of that event. But Bernstein and Guerrero together in 1993. Well, our staff is enjoying a pleasant turkey day today, and of course next weekend we'll have all the results from all of the racing that's occurring over this Thanksgiving weekend. Now, we thought it'd be kind of interesting to take you back through the year to some of the very interesting people and interesting places that we've been. We're going to start our little tour with a trip to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's museum.
You can see it in the photos on the wall. You can feel it as you walk the rows of winning cars. There's a magic in the air at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's Hall of Fame Museum. The magic of victory, of exhilaration, of dreams. Case in point, it holds the last winning car Johnny Rutherford drove back in 1980, a vehicle he afterward paid a visit to during a Hall of Fame induction.
I saw him all alone in there by himself, and I was going to go in and talk to him. And I came up and I saw him, and I didn't want to disturb him. He was looking at the car, kind of like he would a woman. And he reached down and he kind of caressed the tire, and I saw a tear going down his eye. I didn't even bother him. I don't think he ever even saw me, but that moved me a lot to see how close that was and how close, that was a very big time in his life. It still is. And to see how, it was just something to see.
What the average visitor can see is a lineup of some of racing's greatest machines, cars that were developed to help shape the automobile as we know it today, and many of which have gone through on-site restoration at the museum to preserve them as they were.
We have some older cars downstairs that we periodically bring upstairs. We have an 1896 three-wheeler vehicle, a 1903 Fisher. That is just, you wouldn't believe some of these automobiles. I wouldn't have been a race driver back then. It's kind of dangerous.
And a lot different than what we see today. Take this car, the first winner of the Indy 500 back in 1911. It created quite a controversy with Ray Haroon behind the wheel.
The racing commission at that time were real hesitant to let Ray Haroon race because there was only one person in the car. He was the only one to win, first person in the car, until way up in, I believe, the late 30s. The reason they wanted someone else in the car because they had a riding mechanic back then. Riding mechanic's job was to pump up the oil, to massage the driver's legs, arms, because it was pretty rough driving back then, and to look behind you. Make sure there's nobody coming up behind you so you don't have a blind spot. Ray Haroon had the first rear view mirror. I'm not sure that's why it won, but I think it lightened up the car quite a bit.
Fans can catch a glimpse of that kind of trivia any day of the year except Christmas. While the cars are, of course, the biggest draw, there are plenty of displays that appeal to any age.
We try to get everything for children to like all the way up to older people. I'd like to get more of the older cars out here because a lot of older people like to see them reminiscing. We have a China display for the wise, but you can't really please everybody. But we have a pretty roundabout, it's pretty rounded out what we have here. We have pictures and we have the gift shop. Just try to keep people interested.
And apparently it's working, as an estimated 250,000 visitors make their way through the Indy Hall of Fame Museum each year. It's a place that reminds you just how far the world has come and which preserves many precious memories for generations to come.
Well, you know, if you're an open-wheel sprint car fan, there's only one Knoxville, and that's in Iowa. And that's where we thought we'd take you for the Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum.
Ever since 1985, Knoxville business leaders recognized the impact that sprint car racing had on the local economy and decided that a Hall of Fame and museum for the sport would be a fitting tribute to its men and machines. The museum resides in a new 2-story building, complete with VIP suites that overlook the backstretch of the famed Knoxville Raceway. Its purpose is to promote the future of sprint car racing by preserving the past.
We're not only preserving the history of the sport of big car and sprint car racing, but we're looking to the future, and we want to promote the sport of sprint car racing, telling the stories, of today's racers as well as the past heroes, and making the sport grow on an international level.
The museum contains all types of memorabilia, ranging from trophies and posters to personal items from stars of the past, as well as title-winning cars on loan from their owners. And it's support like this from individuals that made this place possible.
People have been donating helmets and trophies and driver's suits. It's really been terrific, and we know that we need continued support from across the country, especially from central Pennsylvania and southern California.
Now that the museum is a reality, it's time to embark on its next phase of development.
We'd like to have a library and archives so that researchers on the sport of sprint car racing can come in and utilize the library services. And we also want to develop a 75-seat theater on the second floor, having continuous racing videos, being able to show big car and sprint car racing to the fans on a continual basis.
And fans can also be immortalized in the museum by purchasing a brick with their name on it to help offset operating costs. This donation is tax deductible and helps keep the doors open every day of the year except Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Stick around, everybody. We'll be back with more of our Thanksgiving weekend program right after these messages.
For nearly 50 years, car owners have used Gum-Out fuel system cleaners to help eliminate hard starts, hesitations, and stalls. And there's Pennzoil quality in every product, which is why so many people know they can trust Gum-Out to improve engine performance, help eliminate hard starts, hesitations, and stalls. Gum-Out, solutions to engine problems, from the people at Pennzoil.
One of these engines was filled with Castrol Syntec, a new synthetic oil. The rest with conventional oils. They were then drained and started without oil to prove a point. You see, Syntec's unique molecular structure bonds to engine parts. Lab tests show it leaves a layer of protection far stronger than conventional oil. And if Syntec protects this well now, imagine if you leave it in. Castrol Syntec protects in ways other oils can't.
The road is the ultimate test. It demands the will, the determination, the energy to go further. At Texaco, you'll find that energy in System 3 gasolines for improved performance in all octane grades. It's not just in our products. It's also in our services. Everywhere you go. At Texaco, we meet the challenge of the road and then go even further.
Over the years, I've made a lot of trips back and forth to Vegas.
So how's it going this trip, George?
The odometer was broken for over 50,000 miles, so I say we've got 300,000 miles on this car.
Hi, George.
I've had a longer relationship with this car than I've had with any woman.
Hi, George. How are you?
This beauty's a living example of what can be done with proper maintenance and AC Delco.
Hi, George.
AC Delco parts. It's like buying time.
Race Day is brought to you by Toyota Motorsports, where technology on a fast track is built into every Toyota car and truck you buy.
Welcome back, everybody. Our next little side trip takes us to Watkins, Glen, New York. Now, it's not a museum, but it's a great place where history and Formula One racing come together.
From a distance, this could be a rustic bar anywhere in the country. But the Seneca Lodge restaurant and this adjacent tavern is located in Watkins, Glen, New York, the Watkins Glen of Formula One fame from the 60s and early 70s. These are home movies of the 1974 United States Grand Prix shot by the family that owns the bar. There's Emerson Fittipaldi. Check out those sideburns. Seneca Lodge used to be home for Formula One teams and drivers. And a closer look at this quaint bar reveals priceless moments from Formula One's history at the Glen. This was their watering hole.
The Formula One boys, I think they thought it was sort of nice to be out in the country for one of the races, because most of the races were in the cities and like that. And I think it was sort of a break in their schedule. And it also was their last race of the season for a long time, too. So they were getting ready to relax.
There's Niki Lauda in Happier Days. That's Carlos Reutemann hanging up his winner's wreath. The Hook is a deer's head.
Because some of the crews were staying here, they decided to give us a memento of their visit here, and they would bring in their the winner's laurels, as we called it, to put up behind the bar. And that sort of started a tradition. After a while, they all brought them every year. And I don't know if you know the history of the laurels, but now they don't use them anymore because they cover up too many ads on their shirts.
Fittipaldi made his World Driving Championship wreath a permanent part of the wall behind the bar the same year. Emo doesn't remember doing it, but the moments he spent among his peers and the local regulars made a lasting impression.
He seemed to be very good, friendly toward all the guests here, you know, wasn't snobby, if you want to say it. We have other years when he didn't win, mingling with the crowd in here. And, well, we have two of his wreaths up in here now. Nicky Lauda, he mingled with your local people in here, too. And we had the wreath up there, though he didn't put it up himself.
Some racers have come full circle. That's Tony Dow relaxing at Seneca in the mid-'70s. Dow is now team manager for Jaguar's team, and Brubaker's shirt comes from that team's previous sponsor. NASCAR's return to the Glen is reflected in the rafters and elsewhere. However, the drivers remain something of an enigma.
They are so busy, those guys, when they come into Watkins Glen. They're showing up every place, you know, for personal appearances. And they didn't have to do that in Formula One days. That's why they could come out and enjoy themselves at dinner.
So if you're ever in the Watkins Glen area, a beverage can be spiced up with some classic race video and a wall unlike any other watering hole in the land.
Well, what do race car drivers collect? More than likely race cars. At least Ken Petrie does, an American IndyCar Series racer who's got quite a collection of vehicles.
Ken Petrie used to race vintage cars. Then he got the bug to race in the American IndyCar Series.
We wanted to get into a competitive series that was not super expensive, but yet was a lot of competition, a lot of fun. And that's why we decided to go with the AIS, and it's turned out to be a lot of fun and very satisfying.
The 40-year-old president of a glass-blowing company now fields cars for himself and the occasional rent-a-rides. His machine is an '85 March chassis, formerly driven by Bobby Rahal.
It definitely makes you respect the car, knowing that it has competed at the Speedway and won some races by somebody famous like Bobby or Mario, and it definitely does add to the excitement. So it does make it more challenging, and trying to live up to what they've done with the cars in the past is a lot of fun.
Petrie also defines fun another way. He collects old Indy cars. In fact, he built another room onto his shop for this very informal museum.
One is not enough, and then we decided to buy several so that we could offer the other cars to other people to rent, and then it just kept going from there. Every time somebody came up with a car, they gave me a call, and I just can't say no.
An A.J. Foyt car from 1988. The car Al Unser Jr. drove in the '87 Indy 500. They're just a couple of the cars in his treasure trove. And then there's one very special car.
That particular car was there at the Speedway and photographed as a four-wheel drive car, but it was the road race car with the small block Chevy engine in it. And in 1970, Mark Donohue did take second at Indianapolis Raceway Park with that car.
Petrie has come full circle from racing vintage cars to collecting them.
Coming up next, we'll show you how you can become a stock car driver or maybe just learn to turn a wrench. Stick around.
So, how do you spend your weekends? Mowing the grass? Watching the games on TV? Or maybe something a little less ambitious? We spend hours at the racetrack testing new innovations, developing new technology to make the Toyota you buy perform as well as it possibly can. After all, we wouldn't want you to lose any sleep over it.
I love what you do for me, Toyota.
Anything you can handle, we can handle. Yokohama high-performance tires.
One of these engines was filled with Castrol Syntec, a new synthetic oil. The rest with conventional oils. They were then drained and started without oil to proof of point. You see, Syntec's unique molecular structure bonds to engine parts. Lab tests show it leaves a layer of protection far stronger than conventional oil. And if Syntec protects this well now, imagine if you leave it in. Castrol Syntec protects in ways other oils can't.
Enter the Campbell Soup Country Holiday Sweepstakes, and you may win a week-long trip for you and yours to Nashville and Opryland, USA. Just call 1-900-933-4TNN to enter. Each call costs 95 cents per minute. Or send a postcard with your name, address, and phone number to this address. You could also win some excellent Whirlpool appliances, like a range, refrigerator, and dishwasher. $1,000 cash. A home entertainment system.
Meet me for brunch and see me in concert.
Billy Dean!
Preventive maintenance is the key to avoiding costly car repair bills.
We'll show you a few steps that anyone can perform in their car to keep it running smoothly.
That's this week on Shade Tree Mechanic.
Shade Tree Mechanic, next on TNN.
Next week on Miller & Company, we'll meet some lovely ladies of country, from Louise Mandrell to Alison Krauss, and the woman who brightens our mornings, Katie Haas.
Miller & Company, weeknights at midnight, 11 Central on TNN.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we've seen the Sprint Car Hall of Fame, and we've seen the Seneca Lodge. Now let's go to Darlington, South Carolina, and visit a home for some very famous stock cars at the Joe Weatherly Museum.
Stock car racing entered the big leagues of professional sports in 1950 with the advent of the Southern 500, and it was one of the early racers who first suggested a Cooperstown for racing.
Well, back in the early 60s, Joe Weatherly was a very good friend of Bob Carvin's here in Darlington. And they went up to Indianapolis to see the race in Indianapolis and went by the museum there. And Joe kindly, casually mentioned, you know, gosh, it'd be nice if we had something like this for our stock car guys. So then when Joe got killed in 1964, Carvin immediately went to work on it with the board of directors at Darlington Raceway. And they built the museum right after he died and named it, the first name was the Joe Weatherly Stock Car Museum.
Like any museum, this one is full of driver memorabilia, but Darlington is unique in its collection of cars.
Of course, the first car that comes to mind is the Johnny Mance Plymouth, which won the first race here in 1950. And oddly enough, we have the trophy there right in front of the car that was presented to Johnny. From there, it's kind of a step in time with the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. We feel like we have the largest collection of stock racing cars in the world. We have everything from, you know, the Hudson Hornet. We go up to Curtis Turner's Ford convertible. Then we have Fred Lorenzen's car that he won. He became the first $100,000 winner on the Winston Cup circuit. We have the famous 63 Chevrolet that Junior Johnson drove that the Fords chased all that time. And of course, we also have the Petrie car that Richard won the 27 races in. From there, we have numerous of cars such as David Pearson's car. And of course, the highlight of the whole thing, I think, is Bill Elliott's 1985 Ford Thunderbird when she won the Winston Million.
In 1979, the National Motorsports Press Association voted to locate their Hall of Fame in Darlington, but the project was nearly wiped out 10 years later.
Hugo, as you know, came through here and did a lot of damage to a lot of places where Hugo got us too. Well, when it caved in the roof of the museum right after that happened, we had to do something. So the museum was closed down for a long period of time. The raceway itself with International Speedway Corporation came in and redid the inside, put the floors in. And so at this time, the NMPA felt like it was a time for them to make a move. And so we wanted to create something that was different than just a museum that you go into where you see a lot of trophy cases and photographs. We wanted something that would be alive and it would actually reflect and honor the men who we have bestowed there. With the modulars on the Hall of Fame, we feel like that we've got a Hall of Fame that's different than anything else. We've got something that actually talks to you. It tells you about what it is rather than you have to sit there and read and look at photographs. The museum is open 7 days a week. The only day we close is Christmas. There's a small admission charge to get in because we let kids in free. And we invite everybody to come by and see it, and I think that you'll be just as impressed with it and happy with it as we are.
So you've given it plenty of thought. You've decided you want to be a stock car driver. Well, Ralph Shaheen will now take us through one of the schools that may make that possible for you, the Fast Track Driving School.
Is this the next Richard Petty?
Is this the next Richard Petty? One way to find out if you have what it takes to be a top-notch Winston Cup driver is to enroll in a driving school. Some full-time competitors, however, feel that driving schools are for armchair racers only, who receive the class as a gift from their wives. Open-wheel driver Andy Hillenburg feels otherwise. He enrolled in the Fast Track School in Charlotte, North Carolina.
When you come here and you run on a super speedway in a fendered race car, I didn't even know how to start one up. I mean, if I would have came here and got a ride in a Busch car or a sportsman car, I'd look a little ridiculous there saying, geez, how do you start this thing up, guys? There's no tow truck to give you a push.
Andy must have learned something. He is now the chief instructor at the school. Charlie Brown has had experience running open-wheel bona fides. He quickly learned that adding fenders to a car makes a big difference.
I learned how air plays a big part on a full fendered car and how, I can't imagine what a draft feels like at 200 miles an hour, but I also learned that you can't just jump in one of these cars and set the world on fire. I mean, I came here yesterday morning and tried to do exactly that. I tried to jump in the car and run my comfortable speed, and they came in and they said, no way, you've got to finesse these things, and they're right.
The most important thing for any racer is seat time. Practice does make perfect. And by taking a driving school with qualified instructors watching your every move, you can polish your craft.
A lot of times you get into bad habits that unless somebody points it out to you, you continue those bad habits, and the school is a good place to know whether or not, you're doing the right kind of stuff.
We teach good habits. A guy might be running out here in the sportsman races, and he might be scrubbing off a little bit of speed running down through these dog legs, or scrubbing off a little speed by taking a wrong entry into one of the turns. What we do here is clean up and get where if we put a dime on the racetrack, hopefully by the time you've run 3 days here, you can hit that dime 100 times out of 100.
Just because you take a driving school doesn't mean that the entry blank Petty Enterprises sends to Daytona next year is going to have your name on it. There is no way to truly know what it is like to be in the midst of 41 other very hungry and very talented drivers until you actually enter a race. But it might help you to win your local track championship, or at least a consi or two.
Okay, so turning the wheel isn't your idea of a good time. Maybe turning the wrench is. Stick around. We'll tell you how you can get involved right after this.
Some people say it's impossible to tell where the flesh and blood stops and the machine begins. But it really doesn't matter. Because whenever you put Ivan Iron Man Stewart together with a Toyota truck, you know where they're gonna finish.
One of these engines was filled with Castrol Syntec, a new synthetic oil. The rest with conventional oils. They were then drained and started without oil to proof of point. You see, Syntec's unique molecular structure bonds to engine parts. Lab tests show it leaves a layer of protection far stronger than conventional oil. And if Syntec protects this well now, imagine if you leave it in. Castrol Syntec protects in ways other oils can't.
When the job is tough, you need the best. And when you need the best, you reach for Channel Lock. For the power. The precision. For just plain counting on, there's only one. Channel Lock. Be sure you're getting genuine Channel Lock tools. Look for this trademark.
It's your boss on the phone. He says, do you still work here or not?
I called the airline like you said, and sure, there's a later flight. Tomorrow.
When you just can't wait to get started, start with the Champion. Pound for pound, the most powerful automotive battery you can buy. Get your Champion now by calling 1-800-289-4627 for a dealer near you.
Welcome back, everybody. You know, I love to see it when talent guys like myself have to get dirty. That's what Ralph Shaheen does next as he goes to pit crew school.
On any given Sunday, there are thousands of people in the grandstands that wish they could be a member of a NASCAR Winston Cup team. But maybe you're just not cut out to be a driver. Maybe you should be a crew member. The instructors of the Charlotte, North Carolina-based Fast Track Driving School have designed the program to teach you everything you need to know to apply for a job as a member of a NASCAR pit crew.
It's a 2-day course. We have a little chassis seminar in the morning on the first day. We go through chassis setups, basic parts of the car, how to change tires, how to jack the car, the whole motion of a pit stop. And later on in the day, we incorporate everybody and let everybody change tires one time and get through the whole unit. Then we break the whole group up into teams, and we start our full pit stops.
The school started with a tour of the Darwall Incorporated shops by guest instructor Jeff Hammond, crew chief of Darrell Waltrip's Western Auto Chevys. It was here that we learned what equipment is needed to run a successful team and how to properly set up your race shop. Once back at the track, Hammond and crew showed us what a two-tire stop should look like. I stress the word should.
If you don't slow down, you don't realize how many mistakes you can make in such a short period of time doing something that is so relatively a simple task.
Having an open mind and a willingness to try anything are definitely prerequisites for this class. Believe me, it is harder than it looks. In fact, just trying to describe it can be tough.
Probably the coordination, getting the nugget remover on the nugget, whatever it's called.
That thing had Hammond not screwed up. Practice does help. In fact, it was obvious that Hammond was getting worried about his job security. Having noticed my graceful moves and lightning-quick reflexes, he foiled what could have been a record-breaking stop. Dead wrench. Dead wrench, man.
What do we do, lose a wrench?
Yeah. Cut his hair off. Oh, damn. I knew I'd get you, Ralph. Although most pit crew members don't have to worry about having their air cut off, it is still an amazingly intense 20 seconds. I even learned something from this school. The next time I'm involved with a pit stop, I would rather be holding the microphone than the jack handle.
Well, that'll wrap up our Thanksgiving morning edition for you. Coming up tonight, 3 men who have considerable influence in the NASCAR Winston Cup racing business. Of course, next weekend we'll be back here at Manzanita with more sprint car racing, and we hope that you have a very pleasant Thanksgiving day. We'll see you back here tonight. I'm Pat Patterson. So long.
Shade Tree Mechanic, next on TNN.
He's called the daddy of them all, and for good reason. That means non-stop action from the time the first chute opens until the last bull's been ridden.
Don't forget to kick in some top-notch country entertainment, courtesy of Charlie Daniels and Buddy Marty Stewart, plus the nitty-gritty dirt band. Yes, nothing captures the spirit of the Old West like Cheyenne Frontier Days with Charlie Daniels and friends. Monday night, 10, 9 Central on TNN.